Jack Crane's come from Lithgow to Normandy, France, to find out what happened to his older brother Bob, who disappeared just after D-Day. British war sleuth Tony Graves is his guide.
But this area here was attacked by the 29th Division on D-Day, 6:30 in the morning. And in 20 minutes, they'd lost 900 men here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were cannon fodder. I don't know if you've seen the film Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Well, that's where it's depicted, right here, where they landed.
Yeah.
Jack's here to solve a mystery. He's learned that 11 days after D-Day, his brother Bob was tasked to fly a secret commando mission deep into occupied France. But Tony Graves now believes the aircraft got caught up in the D-Day fighting and didn't make it far past the French coast. He's leading Jack to a secret location 9 kilometres behind Omaha Beach, where he says the plane came down.
We're here.
If Tony's right, this paddock is the last resting place of Bob Crane and 22 others.
Right, Jack, between those two trees, you'll see an orange cross on the grass, and that's like the epicentre of where the aircraft came down.
Tony's even marked up the point of impact.
Early hours of June the 18th, 1944, a ball of fire was heard, obviously an aircraft, coming in the direction of the church over there at Amyville. It was probably 2,000 or 3,000 feet, might be a bit higher, and all of a sudden it tipped forward and came down right on this spot here.
Local resident Lucien Duval still remembers that awful night. He was a schoolboy and lived near the crash site with his family.
What did you hear?
My father opened the windows, and all the family was able to see the fire in the sky in the night. Then we see this ball of fire extremely close to the top of our roof, and a few seconds later, we hear the crash, probably not 200 meters from our home.
The eyewitness account is supported by even more proof. The farm was named the 18th of June, the precise date of the crash. And beneath its soil, ground-penetrating radar shows 2 distinct lumps of metal, suggesting a large aircraft buried there. But the most convincing evidence is hidden away in Tony's barn. Dozens of items he found just by shoveling up the dirt in the field.
Tony, what are we looking at here?
Right, just here we have the burnt remains of a Hobson carburettor.
And why is that significant?
It's significant because it was fitted to the Bristol Hercules engine which powered the Stirling. Absolutely convinced that this Hobson carburettor has come from the Stirling LJ850.
He's found a Hobson carburettor. He's also, and this is really quite important, he's found substantial quantities of British small arms ammunition, Bren gun and Sten gun ammunition, the kind of ammunition that wouldn't be carried by an aircrew, but would be carried by the SAS troops aboard this bomber.
In the UK, British historian Ian Gordon Brown has been doing painstaking research of his own. He has pestered the British Ministry of Defence about its insistence that the plane was lost in the Morvan Mountains in central France, despite them having zero evidence. But he's hit a wall.
The British say there is no plane whatsoever on that site. And they say, no, I'm wrong, it's in the Morvan, even though there is not a shred of evidence.
What I don't understand is, these are elite soldiers from one of the British Army's top units. Wouldn't they crawl over ground glass to try and find out what happened to their men?
One would hope so, but the SAS deals in success. This was a failure, not through the courage of the men who were lost. They were faultless. But they were really barely noticed in the regimental records, and they've almost been written out of history.
Ian has a personal reason for finding out the truth. His mother, Irene, was married to Lieutenant Leslie Cairns, who led the 15 SAS commandos on board. She recalled the talk at the time was that the bomber was actually shot down by friendly fire.
And I think that the Americans may well have shot it down.
OK, if you're an American unit and you've accidentally shot down a British bomber containing 15 SAS commandos, you're not going to advertise it, really, are you?
Well, if one were very cynical, one might picture the scene the next morning. Oh my God, a plane load of limeys. Dig a pit, keep stum. This never happened, right?
Is that what you think happened? It's a possibility?
It's a possibility. We will never know until the site is properly explored.
That is precisely the problem. To prove the Stirling is here once and for all, Tony Graves needs permission from French authorities to explore the crash site.
I've been refused permission for the permit to excavate this. We don't know what's under the ground, but the only way to find out what's under the ground is to excavate it and hopefully give 23 families closure of what actually happened here.
We took Jack Crane to meet a bureaucrat at the French Culture Ministry.
This is Monsieur Jack Crane.
L'important, c'est que on est un chercheur.
He would have to approve the dig.
Public administration in USA.
He listened politely, but he didn't grant permission to dig. They won't do anything without British government approval, and the British won't provide it.
I think the situation can be summed up cynically but concisely in this way. It's British indifference meeting French bureaucracy and intransigence.
Jack Crane is now caught in a classic catch-22 bureaucratic nightmare. He's convinced now that the bomber flown by his brother Bob, and very likely Bob's remains and those of 22 other men, lie right here, just under this French farm field. But he's not allowed to dig here to check that theory out because the French government says this is a war grave. But the British take the opposite view. Despite the weight of evidence, the British say the bomber didn't crash here. But even if it did crash here, they also say their new policy now is to not disturb the remains of the missing.
Before he returns home, Jack Crane pays his respects to his long-lost brother Bob one last time.
I can imagine it's quite a sober moment for you, Jack.
It is really, yes.
It does seem heartless that you're not allowed to investigate further.
Yeah, it could be proved beyond doubt then, couldn't it?
And how strongly would you want that?
Oh, I don't want 100%.
Does it help being this close to your brother?
It does, really does.
maybe part of the way towards solving the mystery of what happened to him?
7, I'd say, yeah.
Jack Crane came to France to unearth the truth, hoping to put his brother to rest. Now he knows that can't happen. In some ways, his war has never really ended, and this paddock will forever be hallowed ground. I'll just leave you alone for a while.